everybody who joined in. This is the One Who Is Many podcast, and I'm your host. I'm host Eric Brown, and then we have our first guest. So, if you can, thank our guest for joining on, being the first guest to come onto the platform in the podcast. But a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. But first, I'd like to say is this is the first of many podcasts. I'm here because I love cars, the stories, the people, and a passion that connect everybody. Today isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. This episode should start something bigger. A space for the car community to finally speak their truth, share what drives them, and remind the world that this is culture. That this culture is more than horsepower and it's heart. So, again, this is the One Who's Mini podcast, and I thank you for coming. And then I'll let our guest introduce herself, and then we can start.
Okay. My name is Talia Cavanuheo Sanchez, which on my platforms I'm known as TK because no one can say any of that correctly. So I'm TK. Currently, I own a 2022 GR86, and I used to own a 2013 Scion FRS. And so we're here today because our awesome host saw potential in it. So here we are.
So, the first question we got for you is who or what influenced you to get into cars?
So, in order to do that, answer that question, I guess there's two things like in my life that have happened that have kind of moved me towards cars. The first would be my family. For 14 years out of the 21 that I've been alive, my parents have owned their own mechanic business. And so when we were younger, like we obviously never really helped. We were just more the kids that played in the shop. But because of that, we saw a bunch of cool projects or even just regular cars, with major projects that needed to be done that would come through the shop all the time. And so, we turned from shop kids, riding our bikes inside the shop to shop hands once we got older. And when we got older, we were a little bit more involved in even the building of our own cars. My dad built pretty much every single truck that he's had. And so with that, we were more in the diesel aspect as far as, mechanics went. So we knew a lot about diesel mechanics with him. And then I want to say the other would be my significant other. When we first got together, or I should say before we even got together, he had said, "Oh yeah, I used to street race." And to me it was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Like that's cool, whatever." And so when he had said that and then he had just continued to bring it up, it was kind of like, "Oh, well, yeah, like I guess this is something that's like very pinnacle in your life. So, if we start dating, that's something that's going to be pinnacle in my life." And so, no, I haven't street raced. My cars are definitely too slow for that. But I mean, those were the two big aspects of my life where I want to say, like, I grew up with it. I grew up being around cars, trucks, just major projects. I mean, at some point in time, we had like Can-Ams that we worked on. We worked on bikes for sure. Trucks were like the bigger part of that, and then even like some heavy machinery. So all of those mechanics wise, we were around growing up a lot. And then, it will continue to be a part of my life with my significant other. You know what I mean? So those two were heavy pinnacles in my life that are just they're gonna stay there forever. So that's how we got into the car community. And yeah.
Okay, so what's a memory that stands out from the early days of how you got into it?
Let's see. I mean, earliest memory I would say would probably be like when my dad was building the car that I kind of drove around. It was like my beater car. It still is. It's been with us for a couple of years now. And he built funny story behind it, first of all. Let's go back a little bit. So context on that. Every car that my dad has ever built, he buys for super cheap and then turns around and flips it because he has the resources to do so. So my first car was actually an Audi A4 Avant. It's like a
Okay,
Quattro Avant, I believe. So yeah, it's a wagon. For sure. It wasn't like something super flashy. Because of the person that he was, though, he built it up to kind of have like nicer rims. He like made a different bumper on the front. Like he kind of paint matched everything. And so to me at the time, I was like, oh, I don't really want to drive around this mom car. But to other people, that was super cool. And so the earliest memory that I have in a car that really kind of boosted my ego when I got my other cars down the road was that as that being the first car, I didn't see potential in it, somebody else did though, and so all the time people would wanna race me, and so one time I ended up taking that car and I went and was just kinda doing like a day shop, and it ended up being that there was a Camaro next to me, and he was just revving his shit, and what my dad had done to it was he put a blow-off valve on the Audi, so of course, as I go and slow down or, let off the gas, that thing is just gonna go crazy, and so I guess they had heard it, and
Yeah,
we were at a stop, and, there was a cop behind us, and he was revving his shit, and I was like, "Okay, you know what? Go ahead. We're gonna race right now." And this is like 17-year-old me, like really stupid, really like hard-headed, like we're gonna do it. And we're at the light and the light turns green. And so for me, I'm like, okay, pedal on the floor. Let's do it. He's doing his stuff. The cop's right behind us. Let's see who he arrests first. And so we're about to go under an underpass and light turns green. We both hit it, pedal to the metal, and I'm just laughing seeing this guy in my dust. And the cop tries to get in the lane to get behind me, and he misses completely. And so he ends up getting the Camaro guy. Not long after that, the guy ends up following me when, a couple years later when I've grown my platform a little bit more, and he goes, my gosh, you're the kid that had that like crap box Audi who like beat me. Do you know like I got a ticket and that's like on my record? And so for me, that's like my earliest memory because it did come back to resurface. And I'm sure like as we continue to go on with life, I'm gonna know so many more people that will have experiences with me that I didn't get to have in their perspective. So to me, that was like my earliest memory, but it was brought back to light and that was kind of funny to me. So after that, yeah, that was just the first one that was kind of like, I think you're built for something a little bit faster or sportier. And so that was the first fond memory.
definitely
That
can
was
happen.
funny. Yep.
Okay,
He
so
was mad.
I mean, we lose to something like that, yeah, but you can never judge a book by its cover though. So you never know somebody got
Mhm.
under the hood. Okay, let's take it up. What's one moment in the car community that changed how you seen it?
I would have to say, so this is hard because Utah, so I'm from Utah. I'm actually from Hawaii, but I moved to Utah. So currently I say yes, I'm from Utah. Moving from Hawaii to Utah, like you don't see that many cool cars. It's not like something where it's like, oh, okay, I've seen like three of these in traffic, right? It's more like I've seen once here ever, and that's it. And so coming to Utah and seeing how diverse that car culture is and how many people actually invest their time into the car community is crazy. But mainly, like, I want to say when I first got my FRS, it was a 2013 FRS. I had a couple people reach out to me on social media and they were like, hey, so there's groups. And basically, you should join the group. We go for cruises every once in a while and stuff like that. And so to me, like being really new to that type of situation where obviously like I wasn't in Audi groups,
Hmm.
it wasn't like a big thing to me at the time. Being asked to be a part of something like that was like, oh, like, yeah, I guess so. Like, we'll try it. And so then I did try it. And the first ever thing that I attended was a cruise. And it was put together by one of my really close friends now. And like around the time I was like, well, my stuff is really just beat up. Like I have a lot of things to fix on the FRS and it just doesn't make sense to go. And I told that to my friend as well as the person that was running, kind of the cruise altogether. And they were like, well, none of us are perfect. None of our stuff is 100% clean and we have flaws on each single vehicle. And I think whether you come or not doesn't really matter. So when I
Sure.
went, yeah, no, for real. It was like a turning point for me because even when I went, I didn't like, for me, it was like, "Okay, my car's clapped, like, why even go?" And, there's gonna be pictures that'll surface too of, like, how clapped the hood was, my rims had rim rash, like, every single thing under the sun happened to the FRS, like, we'll just say that. And so to me, when people were saying, "No, just come, it's for the experience," like, that was really moving to me, and then when I did go, it was like, "Oh, yeah," like, not to say we're all clapped, but yeah, there is something wrong with each single person, but the fact of the matter is everybody's really nice, everybody's really chill, and obviously there's people that don't get those experiences in the car community,
That's true.
and yeah, like, it really sucks. I've seen both sides. I've been bullied in the car community, which I'm like, "Hey, again, that's valid. I'm a girl." And then I've also, been highly praised for something that even myself, I'm like, "Hey, that was not, like, the greatest looking car in the world. I don't know why you're very intrigued in it." But, like, because of that single moment, that was the first time I ever went to a cruise. But because of that, it was literally just, hey, everybody has something wrong. Everybody has a different personality, a different taste in their car. But altogether, that was actually really moving because it was like, okay, well, even though you're clapped, still come. Even though your car's broken, still come. Like it was just, it was very inviting. And so that was kind of my first experience with the car community. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of kept me there too, because otherwise I'm sure I would have dipped a long time ago.
Okay, so how did that moment shape your view of what the car community like could be?
Yeah, I would say it's very hard because you see, this is what we were kind of talking about earlier today too, and it's kind of all over everybody's page. Stuff that's going on with GAT or GAT, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, down in Tennessee. The car community can see different sides. And so the best example is like this morning, the news came out that because they're doing burnouts and all of these dangerous things and being disruptive, it paints a bad image on the car community. And so
It
to
does.
me, yeah, no, like it's awful, really. And all of these people that spent money to go, all of these people that spent money into their vehicles within the last year, because this is a yearly event, it really just it ruins it for everyone. And so I think the whole point of what would you like the car community to be? Obviously, you can do your hooligan stuff, you know what I mean? But don't associate it with the car community, I would say, because that's one thing that ruins it for everybody. Obviously, we're all not going to get along. Obviously, we're all not going to like each other's stuff. And at the end of the day, we don't have to. Like, there's always going to be differences. But I think the one main thing is if you want to be crazy, take that outside of the car community for real, because it
Exactly.
ruins it. Yeah. Well, what's your take
Because
on it?
it's a time and place for everything. Go to a do a legal pit. If not a legal pit, then just don't do it. I don't agree with takeovers. How to I don't stamp for takeovers. One, takeover is dangerous. Two, people put in a lot of work to get to where they at, and then within like a quick moment, you can a takeover crew can come and just ruin everything. Like for example, Gap been going for like 9 years. I've seen it going for 9 years, and the fact that everybody came and just like they came and they just killed the whole thing in like one day. It's just sad because it's like people take their time. People like you say, there's money into it. People take the time to build a nice show car. They take the time to make the car worth something to them. That's how they express. I fight. That's how they express themselves through their car.
For
So when
sure.
people, so when people come and then they just end it, they just do that kind of stuff. It just kills the whole community because it takes time to build something that great, and for it to end like that, yeah, I don't agree with it. And that's like
Yeah.
why I even made the platform that way we could talk about that because takeover is just go to a legal pit. They have legal pits. Just go to a legal pit, but don't take it in the street. It's been too
Yeah.
many. The car community got a bad rep for that.
Well, and I think that's the other thing. Even if it's not stuff like takeovers, I would say still, like, if you're pulling up to meets and stuff and you're openly drinking, you're like revving your stuff, like, there's best example, like, there's places in Utah that have meets weekly. I'm not going to out who sponsors it, just in case of stuff happening. But, even them, like, people will show up to those meets and kinda just defy all of the rules that they have set, and it ruins everything, for people that do genuinely wanna come out once a week or even, who knows, once a month out of, like, the 4 days of the month that this is hosted. You know what I mean? So, it was just to me, waking up and seeing that, it was really disappointing because that's actually, like, a worldwide level of people coming out to do that.
That's that's global. Like I had friends that drove like 9 hours plus just to get there. And then to get that and then it get ruined like that. And that's also true. Like if you car meet's meant to be like a laid back environment where you get to admire the work that people put into their cars. You get to admire this you just get to admire like the art. Cause a lot of cars be pure art. And like that's just a time when you can just reach out to people, talk to them, ask them about their bill, how they did it. Cause I seen some bills that's pretty interesting. I seen a Prius, and we know and we know a Prius is not. But no, I've seen a Prius, and that Prius was smooth, like it was a clean color. They had it done perfectly. So it's just a spot where you get to express yourself, and for people to come and ruin that, it's just like it's just trying to figure out how to explain that because it's just something you just don't do. Like it's a time and a place for everything. If you enter the whole like I'm just call it takeover scene because it's just nowhere to put it.
Yeah.
People come to the spots to have a good time and network. So just don't ruin it for people. Like if you bought that stuff, do it somewhere with your own people, and just don't bring it to the scene like that because the car gun
Yeah.
is getting a bad rep nowadays.
Well, and even if it's not things that are bigger like that, I feel like it's also just drama. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you've seen things like obviously women, yes, we're dramatic, but this is even like to a point of like car groups themselves have drama within them. And to me, it's just when people say, "Oh, which one are you in?" It's like I'm not in any because if I am, it's like a worldwide thing where there's still a little bit more control than like a local thing where everybody can just go to these meets and talk about each other. And yeah, I've had offers. I will say I've had offers to join pretty big groups here in Utah. I haven't accepted any of them. There's like one that I'm in. It's purely just for the chat. And that's pretty much it. But I mean, that's the other downfall too of it that if we could avoid it, awesome. But unfortunately, it's not just within our
Because
control.
I started a car group. It's called Legion, and
Mm,
for a while, if I could go back in time, I would go back. I've had the most fun doing anything car related with that car group, and I've heard how every other car group somewhere and somehow just had turmoil. It was just toxic. You had people going against people. You had it was from top to bottom, just full of drama. So with the group that I tried to create, I didn't want that. I wanted to be just straight family. If you can't come in the group and bond with the group and be family with the group, I did not want you part of the group. I don't want to be like every other group. I want to create a true family bond car group that were like we go do stuff, we go to cruises. And to be honest, we had that. Like we used to go to our friend Alyssa's house and just hang out like all weekend. I would drive from Daytona to Jacksonville. We'll hang out all weekend, go to car meets, birthdays. We did everything together. Being life happened, and everybody went their own ways, respectfully. But that's what I look for in a car group is to do things like that. Like that's just that's just what I want to do. So we can do that, and we can keep it like that. The community would just keep getting better and better, and that's just what I'm aiming for.
yeah. And I think it's kind of like what I said earlier. Like, we're not all going to get along. We're not all going to like each other. We're not all going to like each other's cars. Cause trust me, like, there's definitely people's cars that I'm like, nope, I definitely don't like it, but I'm still going to be nice to you. You know what I
Very
mean? I
true.
feel like setting that though aside, being like, okay, even though we don't have the same views or same, I guess, like outcomes with whatever we're doing with our cars or just ourselves in general, it just shouldn't be said. So, yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I wish we could change in the community going forward, or what, I would love for the community to have in the future, but it's just, hey, people will be people. That's the human nature. So I think we'll get there, maybe. But I think the other part of it too is if you have a couple good friends or a couple good people within a car group, I think that's all you need.
Not far we can chat, but yeah. And then like people in the chat say, David. We do need spots for the community to just come together and just a spot where no nonsense is allowed through. It's a chill spot. You can come there, talk to car people, get the true car experience, and then take that and then build off that. I feel like we really need more of that. What's been your toughest car moment, and then how'd you push through it?
Okay. This one's a longer question. My toughest car moments, um, I'm trying to pinpoint exactly when to go back on this moment. Uh, the Audi was awesome for the time that I had it. For me, it was just, okay, if I'm gonna be paying for something or paying for insurance on something, I'd rather have what I want. And that was just me. Like all throughout my life, that's what I've told myself. If I want something that I'm paying for, it's gonna be what I want. And so that's been, that's kind of just been the line where I draw it at. And so to me, when I was looking at getting a new car, it was mainly like, okay, I'm looking at a bunch of different things. Like you can ask anybody. I literally looked at everything. I looked at BMW, which I was like, I don't know why I'm looking at BMW. I've already owned a German and I've had my experiences with that. I looked at American Muscle. I wasn't really a fan of like Mopar and, Camaro, Chevy, any of that. So I looked into Mustang, like test drove maybe I want to say 8 different Mustangs, like in different years too. Cause it was like, who knows what I'm gonna like. Didn't like any of those. I've had trucks my whole life. So I mean, there'll be a clip somewhere, I'm sure, of like the truck that I drove for a little bit as a daily. I absolutely didn't want to do that. Especially because it wasn't just trucks, period. It was lifted like trucks 6 feet off the ground. So to me, it was like, okay, that's too big. I don't want to do that in Utah, even though it would be nice in the snow. And so then I started looking at like two-door cars, which obviously like every brand makes a two-door car.
Hmm.
But I was looking at like something smaller, like, okay, if I have to merge into traffic, can I fit there? Type of car. Like that was literally me. It was like it has to be small, but it has to be small enough to fit in a space. Like literally, okay, I can move over and like not get hit. You know what I mean? And so I looked into a couple different things. Like, trust me, I looked into everything. Like Miata just it wasn't pulling me. And what else do they have? They have like the S2000. Even though it was like, oh yeah, that's cool, a lot of them don't come with a hard top. So whatever I was looking at was soft top. You know what I mean? And especially here in Utah, when people do that, do those types of models, either the Miata or the S2, like it's a collector's car. Like people in Utah could have like 5 different cars, but those are more like, okay, I'm only going to drive that in the summer. Like that's my summer car. And so looking at those on sale, it was literally like, there is no use for a soft top for me. Like, that's not going to be of use to me. So those were kind of crossed off the list. And then my significant other, the last car that he, kind of street raced and like drifted with was the GT86. And so to me, like, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, like, I'm gonna get your dream car. Cause it really wasn't. But to me, it was like, well, let me look into it. I've never heard of the GTA 6 before. So Googled it, and then shortly after it was like, actually, this is like 3 different cars. It's the Scion FRS that Toyota, kind of took over. Eventually, it's also the Subaru BRZ. Like these 3 cars are literally the same thing, which means that's actually a wider range to look at. You know what I mean? Instead of just being like, okay, Toyota or Subaru, it was also like, well, there's a third option, it's Scion, if you're looking at the older models. And so I started looking at those. Here's the thing though, everybody knows that owns one. It's 50-50 on what you're getting, okay? It could be completely stock or it could be completely modded, like touched like crazy. And so the ones that we looked at, I went with my significant other and I've been pretty rusty on manual, so I took him just in case. And like even those, like everything fully modded, meaning like even the clutch was different. And so he was like, even if you're rusty, like you're not going to be able to get it like right away if you buy something like this. And so I think I want to say I looked at maybe like 3 or 4 FRS like BRZs. and I was just like, this is what I want. I just don't want it like super modded. Like I want to do that myself. And so
Right.
the day came around where I had seen this listing. It was up at a dealership. I'm just going to blast them because it was an awful experience. It was literally Toyota. It was a Carl Malone Toyota here in Draper, Utah. And basically, what happened was I had just looked at it. I was like, okay, this is like moderately modded, meaning like it's coming with tires, it's coming with the hood. Like, I feel like that's in itself is sitting about like $2,000. You know what I mean? Because it was a Sabon hood and N key rims. And so to me, it was like, okay, probably a little bit touched, but knowing the dealerships, they're not going to take something that's tuned. That's just Utah. Or
Okay.
maybe they will, but then they won't sell it again without like taking off stuff. And so, to me, it was like, well, if it was tuned, they probably fixed it. So, like in my mind, I'm thinking, like, oh, this is like a really safe bet. I'm buying it from a dealership, which means I can hold them responsible for anything if that happens. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be a jerk and be like, you sold me this off of Facebook Marketplace and X and Y doesn't work. Especially because, hey, that's at your own expense. And same thing with the dealership, but I felt like at the time, because I was younger, at least I could hold the dealership responsible for, just specific things. Like if something happened, at least I could be like, hey, this wasn't what you sold it to me like. And so I saw the listing up and it was like 15K, I believe, like before tax or anything. And so I was like, this is within the budget. I've been saving for a little bit, like we can do this. And I basically went in, walked in, looked at it, and definitely a lot of things needed to be worked on. And so when I had expressed my concerns, they were like, we'll drop it to 11,000, which already I should have been like, why are you dropping it like $4,000? Like that's
Mm-hmm. Red
what
flag.
exactly. So here's my thing. You look at a car and you see it and you're like, I want that. Okay. To me, I wanted it way too much that I totally disregarded the whole discount. Okay. So that was the first red flag. Let me tell you, when I want something, I'm stubborn. So here we are looking at the car. I've already test drove it. And it's me and my significant other in the passenger seat. And then I was like 19. No, I was 18 at the time. And the salesperson was like, well, you guys are, younger, so I do have to come with you. So he sits in the back behind me, and anybody that owns one of the three, I like to call the trio, the 86 FRS or B or Z, knows there's literally
No
no use
space.
for the back seat. There's no use for it, so it shouldn't have one. And so it was just funny because we're driving, and obviously because of how much weight there is in the car, I couldn't get it over 60 on purpose. Plus, like we're driving down residential areas. So like I don't want to get pulled over while I'm doing this test, test drive of the car. So that was my second red flag was I obviously didn't push it as hard as I should have because realistically, had I done that, I would have avoided that car altogether. So we get back to the dealership. I sign the papers. I walk out. I'm super happy. And I'm 18 and kind of not really that smart still. I'm still yet not smart. Let's be honest. But then, I walk out of the dealership with the key in hand. I drive that thing home. My parents are mad as shit at me. And it's funny because it's literally like, why would you buy that thing? And so to me, it was literally just like, whoop de doo, like I bought my first car type of deal, which turned into the biggest learning point that I've experienced because this was something I did on my own. You know what I mean? And so I don't hold anybody else responsible for it. Whoever supported me in it, awesome. But then even there was parts that I felt like the dealership I couldn't hold responsible for, and so we'll get into it. But I drove it home off the lot and I enjoyed it for about like I want to say 8 hours. So like I drove it home in the afternoon, went and took pictures of it, posted it, and was like, hey, I just got my first car. Like, I'm super excited. And I wasn't following anybody in the community at that time. So it was literally just, I posted it to my spam account, which was public at the time. And so whoever saw it, basically could text people and say, hey, so and so just bought this type of car. Like, this is cool. She should join your group.
Right.
And so I kid you not, literally the next morning, I get the insurance on it fixed, because I had put insurance on it originally and then I had amended the contract the next morning. with my parents, and I drove it to work the next day. It was totally fine. And then I'm driving it home from work, and I get to an underpass where I'm about to get onto the freeway, and the check engine light turns on. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's literally, sorry, but I'm literally like, what WTF? Like, I literally just bought this thing yesterday. And so, to anybody's surprise, it would be like, okay, now I just like kind of bent myself over. Like, what did I just do? So obviously we had a frenzy of like, I'm so excited that I have this car. And now it's just like, that doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. So I kid you not, I drove that thing home and I told my dad, hey, get the computer out. Like, I know you're mad at me for buying this thing because you said X and Y is gonna happen, but I need you to check what's going on. And so he gets the computer out and he opens, the program app up and he goes, wow, you really screwed yourself over. And now I'm thinking, like, okay, what is it? Like, is the engine blown up? Like, is something really mechanically wrong? And he goes, no, your catalytic converter just like doesn't work, like it's broken. So here's like where the flow sensor is supposed to meet and these are the numbers, and so I was watching it go as we were doing a drive test with it, and like every single rev was marking like X, 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 and so to me, like my heart drops because now it's like, oh, okay. So this is like day two, technically full day one, and here we are with this broken catalytic converter on this type of car, which in my mind too, after looking back on it, realistically, the dealerships here in Utah require you to have a cat in the car before they sell it. So like I said, and this is probably the same case for a bunch of other states, even the other cars that I had looked at back then, like the Mustangs that I had looked at, they were like, no, we can't sell it to you yet. Like it doesn't have a cat. And so to me, when I went back, I literally drove it straight back to the dealership because I was like, this is a day, like literally a day and a half of me owning it. And this is what happened. So I drove back to the dealership. I told them, I said, this is the code that it's pulling. It was like a P.219, I believe. Trust me, I've seen it way too much to know, but it was literally that code. I drove it back and I told them, and they're kind of just looking at me like, how the heck do you know what that code is? And how the heck do you know it's the catalytic converter? So I said, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. You sold it to me yesterday. I know I signed it as a as is no warranty, which means whatever's disclosed about the car is disclosed and that's it. Like there's no returns. But realistically, had you also had a 180-point inspection done on it or any kind of inspection, you would have seen that code because
They would have.
that's not just I don't break it in a day. You know what I mean? You don't break a catalytic converter in a day. And so with the extent of how bad it was, I told them, you really should have done an inspection on it before. And I was stupid enough to not ask you to do one. So here we are. Like the two of us are at fault. But realistically, you've had this sitting on the lot for X amount of time and you didn't check it. And so I held them responsible for fixing the catalytic converter. And so when that was done, I drove it off the lot again, which second big red flag was okay, you also just ended up driving it back off. You could have just traded it in right there for something else. Even if it was a Corolla, you know what I mean? Even if it was a Prius, like we were saying, something would have been better than what I had went through and how much I had learned. And so that was just like the beginning part of it. Like, trust me, every point from there just kept getting worse. And so drove it off the lot, had a good couple months. When they had changed out the catalytic converter, they didn't change out the O2 sensors. So it was kind of dumb. It was literally a new cat with like old sensors plugged into it. And even me looking at it, I was like, that just is retarded. Like, you shouldn't have done that. You really should have changed the whole thing, even if it was at your expense. You should have fixed all of it. So I did that, fixed the O2 sensors. And then from there, I just, every once in a while, that check engine light would turn on and off. And so for the first couple months, it would do that. And then I would reassess, okay, is this right? And so we would keep going with it. And then there was a period of time, I believe, after I had already gone to like a couple cruises, I had taken it to the canyon like multiple times. I literally took it on a trip with me. Like I drove a pretty far trip and like took it with me. You know what I mean? the check engine light just it wouldn't come off. You know what I mean? So it would like turn on and then turn off for like maybe a day, be on for a couple days, turn off. And so to me, kind of already knowing what I know, it's like, yeah, obviously that's not normal, but you know your car, so you're just going to keep pushing it. And so that's what I did. It got to a point where like, for me, I was driving with it way too much to the point where I noticed, like, changes, and so this is I wanna say, like, the end of last year. I told my dad, I said, "Look, I know that we don't see eye to eye on this stuff. I know that you don't like this car, and this is definitely a bad decision that I've made." Kind of just coming to him and being like, "Hey, so yeah, like, you were right, but I do need your help." And so what happened was basically we had fixed a bunch of stuff on the top of the engine. You know what I mean? We
Hmm.
had fixed like the coolant thermostat. We had to like completely flush everything out to make sure that it wasn't that. And we just fixed a bunch of stuff on the top, which realistically, anybody that owns a Subaru knows like your head gasket is the worst thing to go. So if that is pretty much gone, the only way to tell if it is before really digging your hand deep in there and pulling the whole engine out is let's fix all of these things. And if it's not that, it's definitely going to be that head gasket. And so,
Okay.
like I said, we fixed a bunch of things. I want to say in the process of fixing everything that we did, there was about a good 5,000 put into just parts and labor. And that was just for us. Like it was labor for us
That's a
because
lot.
yeah, but I mean, you own a family business. It's taking time away from whatever else is out in the yard. You know what I mean? That we
Hmm.
still got to work on. So realistically, when I say 5,000, including labor, it was also just like, hey, I got to go to work too. If I can't be there, I need somebody to work on it, and that's going to be you, which is my dad and my brothers. And so, even with those expenses, it still took time away from other things that they needed to get done. And I wanna say, like, since December of last year, that thing was in the garage at least a good month and a half. Just even if it was, like, little segments of time. If we added them all together, that was, like, a month and a half that was taken up, by the FRS project, and so, we fixed a lot of things on the top of the engine, like, we had to replace a lot of different parts because anybody that owns a Subaru also knows there's parts that do break easily outside of, your head gasket, and just to do any kind of fix, like, you gotta take a lot off the top of the engine to get to the bottom.
Yeah,
Like,
the
it's
spark plug's at the bottom.
yeah. So, even when we were discussing, okay, maybe if we, have to fix anything on the bottom, we should probably just replace everything underneath there, which anybody knows can get expensive, especially because you
Yeah.
only want to do it once. Yeah. So, like, because we only wanted to do it once, that was also a discussion that was, in talks. And then I got into an accident with it. Basically, I wasn't at fault, but somebody ended up getting into an accident. And then this is Utah drivers for you. They decided to keep driving, and we hit a hill where you're supposed to start off going 40 miles per hour. So you basically make that turn and you're already speeding. And so he ended up, losing control of his truck, backed up onto me. And so, I was kind of stuck there for a little bit. I think I went without the car for about a month and a half because they were doing body work, fixing to like the bumper and everything. And then, after that, that's kind of when most of the other problems kept happening. I literally drove it home from the body shop and I was smelling like burnt coolant. So I was like, okay, yep, like something's wrong again. Like here we are. And then mind you, this is like February, March. So we're sitting
Okay.
here and I'm like months sitting here where I'm like, okay, yeah, like the first 5 months of owning the car, like maybe 2 or 3 of them, awesome. Then we start experiencing these problems and we're already about, 6 or 7 months in. And so then I'm like, okay, well, we're really just, kind of bending myself over every single time that we have to fix something. And so, the thought had crossed in my mind earlier at the beginning of the year, like it's time. Like it's time to let go of it. We're investing too much into the engine when really I knew the outcome was even if we fixed whatever else we have to fix, I just have a feeling that it's that head gasket. So we get to May and now I'm finally deciding like, okay, yep, we're done with this. Like I've said it too many times. I've told my group chats too many times that I'm getting rid of it. So now we really got to go. Cuz people are tired of hearing me say like "You're getting rid of it, you're getting rid of it, just do it." You know what I mean? So, to me, it
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, now is the time." So May comes around, and I've literally had it parked. Like, I drove it to work maybe, like, 3 to 4 times because to me, it was like, "Okay, I can't keep driving it like this. I don't know if it's gonna blow up on me,"
True.
I which I will say, for having it for 8 months and still driving it for maybe about, like, 5 of those months, really good if we compressed all the time together and times that I drove it 5 months together, I would say, "Hey, I got really lucky." Like, with what I'm about to tell you guys, I got really freaking lucky. So I ended up finally, like, just pitching my tent and saying, "Okay, hold out on this time. You said that you're going to get rid of it. Let's go get rid of it." And so I had talked to my lawyer, and she was basically saying, like, "Hey, it's too late to sue Toyota, but if it is to the extent that your head gasket is already blown and you've been driving it like that, like, it's technically your fault." And so I said, "Yeah, no, for sure." I said, "But is there any leeway that we could use with them knowing that it was broken selling it to me?" And they were like, "Well, 50-50, depends on your conversation." So finally, I took it to Toyota because it was throwing another code that I was sure that I couldn't diagnose myself.
Hmm.
So the basis of it was take it to Toyota. They can diagnose it with their own specialty computer. They can pull the codes and tell you what needs to be fixed, or even better, they can do it themselves at a discounted rate, especially because if you make a complaint, here you are, facing the consequences.
True.
And so I took it to Toyota, and they took it in for, I think it was 2 days, and then they gave me a call back and they said, "Hey, so the tech that worked on it completely pulled it apart." Okay, he did a compression test, he did all kinds of testing. They were trying to bill me for, I wanna say, like, 15 hours of labor, which was just testing, meaning, like, they only pulled off, like, a couple things.
Hmm.
And so to me, I was like, "Oh, hell no, I'm not paying $5,000 for just that." You know what I mean? I can put that down as a down payment on a different car. And so basically what happened was they called me back, they showed me like this paper, and it was like, "So yeah, 1 and 3 are blown. Like you're done. Like this engine needs to be replaced." And I had said, "Well, compared to the last time that you guys did a service inspection on it, how was it looking?" And basically they were like, "We didn't do one." So then they're stuck with, their hand down their pants because it's like, "Oh, well, we didn't do one." And that's something that they had admitted to me after I had said, "Hey, let me look at before you sold it to me because I know you would have had to do a compression test on this. Like, there's no way."
Jesus
And
Christ.
well, and here's my thing. I can't say that they did anything, but I am saying if that check engine light turned on a day after I bought it, who's to say that they didn't turn it off themselves before I bought
They
it?
clear them codes. They clear
That's
those
what
codes.
you can clear those codes, but that's what I'm saying. Any mechanic with that computer can pull up even the ones that have been deleted and say, "No, this is actually in the history. Like, this is
Hmm.
pending, this is in the history, and then this is what's currently, you know, fixed." Like, they can show you all of that. And so to me, I didn't want to be like accusatory and be like, "Hey, you guys did this to me." But realistically, it was just like, if you're telling me that there is no record of any testing before this specific time period that I've brought it to you, then that tells me everything I need to know. So they were like, "Well, you could pay," and I think it was like $5,580. And I remember because it was like hefty. It was like 5.5K. And I was like,
That's
"What?"
crazy.
Yeah, well, and that was just for their testing. So, mind you, like they were trying to give me a quote to fix the whole engine, meaning like we repair the heads and we replace the gaskets, and because we're in on the other side, we could do that, but what they were suggesting was we're gonna do one side. So anybody that knows it, no, anybody that owns a car knows if you're fixing one head, you do both because you're in there
Yeah.
at the same time. And why would you do one? So, Toyota had done that.
Uh,
They had said that to me. And so then I was like, wait a minute, why would I just fix one? So then I kind of was like, okay, I'm not going to pay that today. And I didn't mean it to be an asshole because I really could have paid it that day if I wanted to. But to me, it was like, okay, give me a little bit. And I literally lied through my teeth. I said, give me a little bit to come up with the money and then I'll come back. And I literally was like, you know what? Why even come back? Like, I almost want to just abandon this car here. Basically, what happened was I took a couple days to think about it. And there was 2 different outcomes that I coulda had, or 3 realistically. The first one was, okay, Toyota can fix it, but they fixed one
Mhm.
side. The second is, we can fix it. My family, meaning me and my dad and my brothers, can fix this for a little bit cheaper, but then, after that, my whole thought process, and even my dad's thought process was, after we fix it, you should just sell it. You know what I mean? This is an older car, it's an older engine, like, it would not be useful to keep putting this amount of money in, and then you're just kinda stuck with that, you know? So that was the second outcome, and then the third was trade it in, hold them responsible, kinda hold their hands behind their backs on it, and so I went with option 3 because that was just like, "Okay, well, I need a car, period." Like, at the time, my brother was using the Audi and so was my mom, and so it was just like, I can't fall back on using that car anymore, so I kinda need something for myself, and the outcome with that was, let's go walk the lot. Let's go see what there is. I'll come back and tell them I'm paying for the bill, but realistically, I'm gonna come back with an ultimatum that's saying, "Okay, well, you guys messed up the first time, so actually here's what we should do," and come back with kinda like a counter, and so for me, it took about 2 weeks to kind of, A, fully think it through, and B, kind of formulate a plan in which would work, and so with
Mhm.
that, I walked to the lot with my significant other, and he was like, "Well, I know you're gonna test drive all these other cars that they have, and you're not gonna like it." And he said, "And obviously the Supra's out of our budget." And so then I started laughing because I was like, "Yeah, here we are, like, we're looking at, other things. Obviously, like, Supra would be awesome, but we can't do that." And, we ended up looking at another GR86, and this was the one that I have now. And I looked at it and I was like, it's not gonna be like the FRS. I'm gonna definitely miss it. Like, I don't know if I wanna do this or even trade it in and get something new. And it always just kept coming back to that point of like, it's not gonna be like the FRS. Like, I'm gonna be so sad. Like, and no matter what I get, it's just not gonna compare to it. And basically, he had talked me into it. My significant other talked me into it. I talked myself into it. And I was like, you know what? If I can really prove some points here, I think we can get away with trading it in, especially because we can hold Toyota responsible for a lot of things, and so that's
Right.
how the process went, was we traded it in, and we got a really good APR and stuff on it because obviously, like, it was newer. Like, at the time, I could afford the old one, but this one, like, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people do this, but, we're doing payments on this one, like, just no cap, I'm not even gonna try say that we could afford $45,000. And so basically what happened was Toyota took the FRS and they put down partial down payment so that payments and like APR and stuff was really good on the car at 86. And like, I was really sad, like, I really was, because they had said, "Oh, yeah, we'll try to get you to sign it today, and then the car could be yours today," without hearing from the bank that I wanted to hear from, and so they tried to get me to sign again, like, this is the second time around of them trying to get me to sign just so they can make money. Like, they tried to get me to sign with, like, 20% APR, and I was like, "Hell no, I'm not paying that much interest." So here I am, like, being, like, kind of a here's my thing, anybody that knows me, I have the RBF, but if you talk to me for 30 minutes, that changes your whole perspective on me, and so for me, like, I really kinda just went in there RBF, I went in there really mad, and it was actually a valid point for me being mad because here we are, like, investing so much money into the old one that you sold me, and now you're trying to sign me off on a huge, APR percentage, and you're just trying
Yeah,
to
that's
get me
crazy.
out of the door again. Yeah, like, they didn't even let's be real here, they didn't even have the title for the '86. So I got really lucky when the bank called me and said, "Hey, we don't have your title, you should probably check with Toyota." So, again, like I said, they just try to get you to sign and then out the door.
That's crazy, Gordon. Talia, you guy had a title.
Saying! So,
Got
here
a
we
title.
are. Now everything's fine. But even at the time, it was just like, money, 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 get you out the door. Drive that car home if you want today, but come back and sign the paper tomorrow. And so even that, like, I didn't even cave. I wasn't like, no, like, I'll sign it. Like, this is the best I'm gonna get. Sure enough, my bank called them the next day and they were like, we could do 5% APR. That's like, amen, that's better than 20. That's like
Way better than
15
20.
that's 15% less, and you were gonna let me sign that? Hell no. And so, you know what I mean, like, just the it took time. It was a really hard experience for me to be out of my car for as long as I was after I bought it, and to learn, financially and just mentally, like, you're out of a car, this is what needs to be fixed. You have to go to work. You can't afford to not fix these things, especially if you're wanting the car. You know what I mean? And anybody that
That's true.
faces that knows, like, yeah, you definitely got to go to work because you got to afford these things. But, it was just like all the way around once the process was done, it was like, okay, well, I have a whole new stock car, literally like 35,000 miles on it. Like, leased car, nobody even touched it before, like a couple minor hail chips on the hood. But other than that, I was like, dude, like, this is a fresh canvas that I get to paint on. Like, it's not gonna
Hmm.
be like the FRS, but hey, that's like that's new. You know what I mean? That's new. That's
That
the
is.
newest thing I'm gonna ever own. Like, I would never be the person that buys a 2025 something or 2026 something.
No,
Like,
I like my older.
me too. But that's what I'm saying is it kind of forced my hand to be like, we have to go newer, but then all the perks that come with it, obviously, like low mileage, it's stock, which means nobody, kind of finagled with it and could have broken things in the process. And even just, like it's newer, it's gonna last longer. Like that was a little bit relieving to me, where it was like, yeah, there's also been modifications itself to parts on the engine. Like, so some things won't break as easy. Not saying that my head gasket won't break on this new one, but fingers crossed on that. But yeah, just he's like,
No, I'm trying to think because my friend Juice had or has a 86, but he sold it to his best friend Tommy, and Tommy still got it, and it's still going. It's still going strong.
yeah,
But I got a
I think
story about the FRS though.
Yeah, I think the one thing is if you redline it, like, to nothing, of course, you're definitely gonna blow it faster than you think. But, I mean, as long as you take care of it, which is the beauty behind that car is, obviously, more maintenance needs to be done. Not more than, like, a German car, because let's be honest, I had my share of that too. Like, the oil needed to be changed on the Audi all the time. But if you're taking care of it, that's the beauty of it, is it actually does last longer than you think, you
It
know?
does.
And, yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I really could have blown up at like any time driving that car. Cause I'm not gonna lie, like even the FRS could get up to like 90 something. Like it was just, yeah, like thinking back on it, it was really like, wow, like, yeah, obviously all that stuff sucked. But now it's more of a point of like, I miss my car, but any day then I really could have just been
Yeah,
gone, And so it was crazy. It was crazy to think about, after the fact. But
I had
yeah.
a dude named Justin. Justin was like my ride or die partner in my car group. He was like the anytime I made a choice or decision, I talked to Justin. Anytime I had or I got an opinion about something, I talked to Justin. But the reason why the car group kind of died out was my right hand, Justin. He had a FRS. Oh God. So he had it for that like 2-3 months. Like we was doing like everything together. Then his engine broke. His first engine to get it fixed was okay.
Yeah, it's
So
expensive.
he got he got that engine fixed, but it took the entire summer. So that entire summer he could do nothing with the car. It took the entire summer. And he got a new engine. Give it about 2 weeks. He had to get a whole new engine
Gosh.
and got it fixed, got it back. It broke again. I say though he had a car for a minute. I don't know if he still got it or not, but you barely see him on the road after that because it just kept breaking, kept breaking to the point where it kind of took him off of the car seat
Oh, for sure.
because it's just like, bro, like I can't even enjoy the car. I can't go outside. I don't have a car to do my own thing. So like when it came to him, and in my car at one point was the same way, but his car it just took him out of like the whole car scene because he couldn't use it how he wants to. Anytime he did use it, it broke. So for him, it was just like I can't really go out and have fun because the car keep doing this, and then his dealership drags their feet with fixing it. I mean, they drag their feet for getting it fixed. So with him, it's just like he got to wait till the people send to his car insurance people, not car insurance, the car people, send that check to get it fixed, and he been waiting for that car. So
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, the FRS is known for it's notorious for that now.
Yeah. Well,
It's just you know,
yeah, like, here's the thing, there's a reason why it stopped being built after X amount of years, which I can't say nothing because even the BRZ and the 86 had the same engine, but, I mean, let's be real here, a lot of the FRSs had recalls on specific parts in the engine, and, I mean, again, like I said, it's a super engine, it's a boxer engine, that's if you're, kinda touching it, modding it, whatever you're doing to it, sure, like, makes it faster. But then realistically, the foundation that you're doing all that stuff on, if that ain't good, yeah, you're gonna face so many issues. So, like, I kind of felt like him too, like, for the longest time, like, damn, I really like, I enjoyed it the first couple months of having it, and now it's just like, it's a pain to have it. And no one ever wants to feel that way about their car. And so that is so relatable, though, like, unfortunately, terrible circumstance, but then, like, it's
so
relatable.
I have a German.
Yeah.
I have a '08 CLS 550.
Mhm.
Now, when I first got the car, like for the first like 6 months, no problem. I drove that thing. If I'm being honest, when I first got it, it had like 178,000 or 180,000. That was in 23.
Those things those things didn't go that many miles, though. You know what I mean?
I think by 24, I had almost 220,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
Like I was driving my car. So it got to a point where it just kept misfiring. I mean, probably my fault because I got my cats taken off. Basically, my whole car is straight pipe, but my retarded ass never got it tuned.
To
So I think
keep
that's
up
why.
with it. Yeah.
So I think that's why it keep misfiring, or it kept misfiring. So for a while, like I wasn't doing stuff. So that's why I think that was a downfall of my like car group was my car started to downfall. Then Justin car started to downfall. So it was just like at that point, it was like just everything would start going downhill. Then by the time I get my car fixed, I was missing out on a lot of stuff. But yeah, my car down right now. It a turnover, but won't crank. So now my car just
No.
sitting again.
Well, but
So
yeah, like, that's such a relatable feeling, though, like, we always see those memes where it's like, "Oh, like, I miss my car on vacation," or like, "Oh, I can't drive my car to the shop," like and I've always been like, "Oh," like, before that, even owning the FRS, it was like, "Oh, yeah," like, "This is funny." And then after that, it was like, "Actually, no, this is kinda relatable, like, it's a hard thing to go through being without your car," so, yeah, like, it was funny to me to kind of be like, "Oh, yeah, these are laughable things," and then it turned into, like, actually, like, these are
yeah,
relatable things, it's sad. So,
press
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.